Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tech20, our social showcase for technology-focused topics. My name's Anna. I'll be your host for today, and we'll start with a quick safety brief. We are not expecting any alarms for today, any fire drills. So if we hear an alarm, we'll have to clear the building. There's one emergency exit behind you on the right-hand side over there. And if we hear the alarm, we'll leave, go through the car park and turn right, all the way down to 14 Queen's Road, which is a Bupa dental practice. The muster point is at a rare car park. If you're anywhere else in the building, leave the same way that you entered and go to the left and down to number 14 Queen's Road. We just had 20 minutes for lunch. We'll have now a 20-minute presentation, and this will be followed by 20-minute Q&A. It will be a hard stop at 1:30, so I will ask you to clear the room when you finish. And if you'd like to stay and discuss a little longer, you can go upstairs to the TechX lounge and continue the discussions up there. If you'd like to share what you're watching, if you're enjoying yourself, we are at the OGTC, and we use the hashtag #TimeToTech20. I'll introduce our speakers. Today we have Tanya and Zahir. Please join me.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, so my name's Tanya Knowles. I'm the GIS manager at the Oil and Gas Authority. Previous to the OGA, which I've been working at for the past 2 years, I think, I was in consultancy and also working in operators.
Hi, my name is Zahir, and I have 10 years experience in GIS in various different government departments, ranging from the MOD right through to oil and gas industry.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're going to talk to us today?
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar with the Open Data Portal, we've got a couple of demos today, and we'll also talk about sort of how we got there, our journey. So we sort of deliver results by means of saving the industry time, exposing data so that we can work with operators to improve it, and also promoting the industry. And we've done that by using out-of-the-box capability for the software that we have, and also continuously engaging with our users.
Right. I will also introduce Jason from our Subsurface Solutions Center. Hello, Jason. Would you like to tell us why this topic is relevant to the OGTC?
Yeah, absolutely. So data access is one of those kind of key topics across all of our solution centres that comes up time and time again, especially pertinent to the Digital Solution Centre and Subsurface Solution Centres, where a lot of the new technologies coming through are software-based, so access to data is one of those key challenges that the OGA are taking great strides towards addressing. I'm really looking forward to hearing the presentation today.
Thank you.
Tanya, Zahir, thank you for being here today. Your 20 minutes will start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So as I mentioned, we'll be talking about GIS at the OGA. So we've got a wide audience today, so I'll just go through what GIS is and the OGA. I appreciate a lot of you may already know this, but for those that don't. So GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. A quick description is it's a decision support system where we bring together lots of different spatial data to support decisions, analyze, visualize. Often that data can come from many different sources. What do the OGA do? Well, we are an authority. We became a government company in October 2016, which means we are slightly more independent than a government department. And we were founded out of the recommendations of the Wood Review, commissioned in 2014 into the state of the UKCS oil and gas industry. We have three key aims. So that is to regulate, promote, and influence the industry. And these three things come together to form our primary objective of maximising economic recovery for the UK. Data is key to all of that, and there's a quote here from the Wood Review, which I'll let you read, which says it better than I can really. Okay, so what kind of data do we have at the OGA? Well, first category is static, and actually a couple of the audience here come from companies who actually contribute to our static data. So that would be typically ahead of license rounds, our exploration department released data for people to use freely. So those are typically geoscience studies. They also commission studies, and we also provide survey data. The evergreen data. So we have over 40 years worth of data on licenses, on wellbores, on fields, and this sits in complex relational databases with complex time relationships. And just as an indication of how much data that means, that's 12,000 wellbores, over 12,000 wellbores that have been drilled in the UKCS, and over 18,000 license changes through time. And then this well-beloved ad hoc category, which if you work in data, you'll know quite well. So a lot of important bits of information, data sets, documents come into us, but not through the well-regulated ways that we'd like. So via email and stored on, your SharePoint and that kind of thing that we have to pull out and organize in some way. So the digital landscape of the OGA, starting at that end. So the Energy Portal, which I mentioned, it's a series of web applications. It was one of the first government digital platforms formed in the early 2000s. And it's web applications where operators can notify us of changes to licenses, wells, developments, fields, etc. Our OGA data center is where we try and make as much data available to you as possible, as openly as possible. And that is where the OGA Open Data Portal sits, which Zahir will be demonstrating shortly. The National Data Repository, I know, is a hot topic. I will talk briefly about that towards the end. And our corporate system. So we try and make internally the best use of the Office 365 suite. And we are also migrating to Microsoft Azure Cloud, which I will also mention briefly later. So who uses our data? Well, one of the key aims that we have is to serve our diverse audience. So they are diverse in terms of what they want from our data. They're diverse in terms of their technical ability and also their, the places that they work for and their specialist backgrounds. So, for example, we have government organizations, and these screen grabs will be, a lot of them, examples of where other people have consumed our data. So the Marine Management Organization apps there, where they are streaming our data live. We have academia. So one example of where the OGA has worked with universities is on a Frontier Basins research project. Much of that we've already published, and we will continue to publish the results of that. Our largest category, of course, is license holders. And this is a screen grab of a Shell application where they are also streaming our data live. Potential UKCS investors, and last but definitely not least, are the industry service companies. I've put this up here, the Living Atlas. So Esri, the makers of the largest GIS software in use for the industry, have put together a repository of authoritative sources on many different subjects and industries, not just oil and gas. And we've recently submitted our data to the Living Atlas, so hopefully we will be see a new audience coming to our data.
Hi, I'm just going to give a quick brief overview of our open data site. and quickly go through some of the apps and the data that's available to you for you to download and use within your own companies. So I'm just going to quickly give a brief overview of the main website itself. And just to note, since we've actually made these videos, it's since been updated and some new additions have been made to the website. So this is our main website, our main entry into all the data that we publish. We have a variety of different sort of zip files, our standard ad hoc zip files, some apps available. And to actually search for our data, we have a search bar where you can just plug in some words to try and find some data. In this particular example, we'll look at licenses. And here we can, if we drill down into this particular data set, you're able to view the actual information behind the data and actually view this, the spatial representation of that data. It's a great site, this, because you can actually use this as a spreadsheet. And you're able to then filter down through the different attributes within the data set itself. So if you're looking for something very specific, what you can do is use this to find that bit of information and then either export it out in a variety of different formats, which we'll discuss in a minute. So as you can see, we can filter through onshore or offshore. You can add as many filters as you like, and you're able to download this as a spreadsheet, KML, shapefile, either filtered or unfiltered. So you can do most of your analysis there and then download the data. Here we have a different variety of subpages. Exploration data releases is one of our most popular. And here, this is where we publish our exploration-related packages. So in and around the round releases, what we'll do is the OGA will publish some information about that particular round, some exploration information, and you're able to download those packages and information directly through this site. We have it categorized as themes, but if you're unsure about if you're unsure about what packages are available within your area of interest, you can use this app that we've created, which we'll talk more in a little while. But just to give a brief overview, you can view that spatially and actually download the products directly through the app itself. Here we're just demonstrating the other apps available. Here we have an additional subpages, around specific subpages, PDF maps, which you can go and print off. Well, one of our most popular is production. People want to know the production profile of particular areas on the UKCS. And here we have we now have three dashboards available, one spatial, one non-spatial. Our most popular being the Power BI dashboard. It's an interactive dashboard which you can view the production profile of a variety of different fields within the UKCS. And you can actually drill down and filter through the data within this app itself. So you can add a variety of different filters to view the different production profile for that particular field. As I said before, we do have an additional dashboard, which isn't unfortunately on here, which is related to the Buchan area to support the 31st supplementary round, which was released 2 or 3 weeks ago. And if you go on this website today, you'll be able to see that and actually use that today. So this is just demonstrating additional functionality that you can use within the app. So another app we're just going to talk about is our offshore activity map. This is one of our most popular maps. This is where you can see quite a lot of our different data sets available to you. And it's a web map, and you can just drill through the different layers and different data sets available to you and actually view that spatially. If you just zoom into an area, you'll be able to access more information, for example, wells. And to actually view the attributes for those particular features, you can just select the actual feature to view the attributes. And that applies to every single layer, every single data set you see here. What we also tried to do is actually to add some functionality in terms of widgets, for example, to do some search functionality and some analysis. And in the top there, you'll be able to see some widgets we have in terms of searching for data, for example, quadrants, licenses, and wells, and actually find that information. We have some analytical tools in terms of creating graphs, and we also have some additional info summary widgets. These apps we tried to, because the apps themselves are updated regularly, so we tried to add additional functionality where we can, some new widgets, for example. Next, we'll talk about our relinquishment report app. Now, when operators relinquish certain acreage, they are required to provide us with a report on that particular acreage. And what we try to do is to publish those, and this is a way of actually finding out where those relinquishment reports are and to download them and actually view them. So here we have a couple of layers, for example, one which is a dynamic layer, which will show you the most recent ones that have been uploaded to the system within the last 6 months. It's an easy way to find the most recent ones. And here, just by using the pop-up, you can actually access the report by just using the more information link. Again, we also show where we have relinquishment reports and where we don't have relinquishment reports. Again, just by using the link at the top, you can just go in and just actually select the link and view the actual report. And we have additional searches if you're trying to find a particular license. And finally, the data availability app, which I talked about before, about our exploration data packages. Now, this app is just used to try and find out more information in your area of interest. So if you're potentially going to be drilling somewhere and you want to find out more information on what packages are available to you, you can use this app to create an AOI. And what it does is actually gives you all that information about what products are within your AOI. You're then able to download that as a spreadsheet and actually view those products, and actually has the links to those products within the spreadsheet. And we have a variety of different themes at the bottom, so you can cycle through and see what themes are relevant to you. And also, we also have themed layers. So if you're looking for particular products related to those themes, you can select those layers and actually view that information. And again, you can query for a license block or a well, for example, trying to find out more information about that particular block or well. And again, as per the previous apps that we've shown you, again, you can just select the actual features on the map to find out more information about it, including the products available to you. And again, just by selecting the feature, you can actually have a direct link to that product and download it. So just some figures. As you can see, we've had a steady increase of usage of our site and the various different data sets available. When we first started, we've had about 270,000 hits per week. We're now on about nearly 950,000 hits per week. And as you can see, our peaks generally around around when we release data packages or around round awards. And as you can see, our peak was about 1.1 million per week hits to our server around the 30th round awards. And as you can see as well, around the Christmas period times, people are still using our data when they should be off having a good time. So that's good news. Just some figures here. I'll let you read all of them. But some of my favorites are 40,000 views on our app last year alone, and over 77 million server requests. And with that, I'll hand back over to Tanya.
Just unmuting myself. Right. So, one of the key things I wanted to say about those apps is, today you have the pleasure of all 2 members of the GIS team today, and we have to find a way of doing all this with the resources we have available. So what you'll have seen there is it's nothing fancy. We're just using out-of-the-box capability. The key thing is knowing what our users want. So I'm able to use some of that insight that I've had from working in industry, but we're sort of constantly trying to listen to what people want. So in future, what are we going to do? So we want to make more data sets available to you, and we want to make more attributes available. We also, so as you'll have seen, our apps, apart from the offshore activity app, tend to answer specific questions. Where are there relinquishment reports? What data can I download for my area of interest? So as more questions surface, we'll be able to make more apps to answer those questions. And actually, recently, the OGA hosted what we think are the first 2 subsurface hackathons in the UK. And as part of that, we created an app which we will be publishing shortly that has basically that relinquishment reports app, but instead of a report link, which you will actually get as well. You see a word cloud of the most common terms that turn up in that report. So very quickly you'll be able to pull out which prospect it's about and possibly the reasons for failure. And more feedback. So although I did work in industry, I think you slowly lose touch, you slowly get the perspective of where you work. So we did speak with a few license holders last year. We invited them in to just talk to us about open data, and they were able to share things that point out things and come up with ideas that we'd never have thought of because we don't have that perspective. So we really do value feedback, and if you haven't been on our open data site, please visit it. Our address will be at the end of this presentation, so please do shout at us. We do like listening to you. So in future, we will be also migrating to Microsoft Azure. So internally, for us, that means that we will get faster performance. We will get shiny new bits of kit in updated software, and we'll be able to sort of work more flexibly in the new infrastructure. But externally for you, that means that our servers will be more reliable and potentially a bit faster as well. And lastly, the hot topic, the National Data Repository. So this follows the powers that the OGA was granted last year in relation to information, samples, retention and disclosure. And off the back of that, we've been able to, or we will be able to launch the NDR towards the end of the month. And the challenge, on top of the challenge of launching the NDR, which will be taking a lot of work and is taking a lot of work, we want to think about, obviously in the age of machine learning, digitalization, how are we going to take that data, which is often not machine readable because it's legacy data, how do we take that, how do we optimize it, how do we deliver it in a way that people can take it and use it to its full potential and maximize economic recovery for the UK. So that's all I had to say. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Tanya and Zahir. We're going to open now the question section. We record the sessions, so in order to be able to listen to all of the questions, we have some microphones around the room. So we would ask you to raise your arm and wait for the microphone to come to you, and then ask your question. Do we have questions? Over there, yes.
Is any of your data available as a web map service or a web feature service hyperlink that you can stream into other vendors' software?
Yeah, so if you, next to that download button you saw earlier on the site, there is also an API button, and we make several APIs available to stream.
So, Paul Lindop, First Subsurface. One of the things that I know some people in the audience have been asking for, and whether you know the answer, you've got all the relinquishment reports. Yeah. Are you intending to retrospectively make accessible all the COP reports? I know you're doing the first ever with Buchan.
Yeah.
We'd love access to all the others.
I'm afraid I can't answer that straight away, but I can, if you drop us a line, you know, I will, yeah.
Do you have other questions? Over there on the right.
I'm Henk Kombrink, Lloyd's Register. With the NDR being launched later this month, what is going to be the overlap, if at all, in data available through NDR and through the OGA website?
So the way I split it in my head is what's available on open data is typically header data about licenses, about wellbores, but what will be available in the NDR is drilling down into the well reports, the documents attached to well bores and fields.
Are there any other questions? There's one in the front over here.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question. The data you stored, is it data which is coming from official reports from operators or other oil and gas industries?
So some of our data, so the stuff that's sort of always updated tends to come from operators inputting the data into our applications. Our more static data sources, they'll come from us purchasing existing reports that might have come from multiple places, or commissioning data, which again will be taking in data from multiple sources again.
Okay, because we heard a lot about the discussion that operators are not very keen to share their data. And I believe there were other presentations based on the Oil and Gas Authority experience that sometimes it is difficult to gather this data. How do you overcome that? I mean, I do understand that if it's coming from an official report, the operator has the obligation to produce that data to you. Yeah. Otherwise, how would you see encouraging operators to share more data?
So I think there are a couple of things. With the data that we have access to, we're able to see where there are gaps now, which helps us to figure out which operators to contact. We also have a team that deal with compliance, we did find actually in the recent Buchan round that operators were very willing to share data with us. So I think we're seeing a change in culture. I think some operators are very helpful now.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Abraham from University of Aberdeen and from Carbon Capturing Machine. I'd be interested in finding out, you mentioned about compliance data. If you're seeking, or if this is moving also towards the area of being transparent with regards to CO2 emissions and maybe emission trading system fees that the operators are paying for what's being produced in the oil fields?
I think some of that data is possibly sensitive. We're kind of moving out of my area of expertise, but again, if you do email us, I can probably sort of help you out a bit more with that, direct you to the right people.
Only because of transparency issues. The main concern is not what's down there, but how much are we going to be able to produce given the global warming issues, and that's perhaps where the most public value is for your data.
Hi, do you see an improvement in release of data around infrastructure, pipe routes, etc.? I mean, the operators are required to deliver this for fisheries information, but it's a very old-fashioned CSV data format. Do you see an improvement with that, or a drive from OGA to improve what operators are required to deliver in terms of that information and make it publicly available?
Yeah, I think one thing, when we launch the NDR, we will be able to make that spatial data available, which we're always getting asked for. So that will be one thing that we can do. I'm afraid it's a bit of a vague answer. We're always looking to improve. That is, something I'm aware of. That there are probably needs for that infrastructure data in a better format. And we're always trying to improve, but I can't give you anything sort of concrete, I'm afraid.
Do you have other questions for Tanya or Zahir? We have one behind in the back.
Hi there, Charlie Booth, OGTC. Really great presentation, thank you for that. We did a project recently with Lloyd's Register looking at the oil and gas industry's interaction with the fishing industry. One of the main ways that we do that is through the FishSafe system, which tells the fishermen all the locations of all the oil and gas assets, which I understand used to be fed through the CDA database. Is that going to change with the introduction of the sort of NDR piece?
So when the NDR is launched, we will acquire that and be able to share it, and then from there we will, once we get our hands on it, basically we'll look at what we can do.
Okay, so will that transfer come directly from you? Because before I think it went through the OG UK.
Yeah.
Do you know if you guys will take responsibility for that?
Yes.
That data, so you will. Okay. Yeah. Oh, really cool. Thank you.
Any final questions? I don't think so. So I'll hand over to Jason. Jason, would you like to have any closing remarks?
Just really like to say thanks very much to both of our speakers here today. Really interesting presentation. You can tell from the audience that you've got today that it's a hot topic and there's a lot of interest around this. And I'm sure that you'll get another spike in your servers coming up pretty soon. I'll be one of them as soon as that NDR goes live. So yeah, just give your thanks to our speakers. Thanks very much.